um, Audra Sargelis. And this is The Secrets of Sex. If you like what I'm doing here, please do me the enormous favor of subscribing. It helps me out a lot. As you all know, I'm new and really little account. I would love your help. It just everything, every like, every watch helps me immensely. So thank you ahead of time. I appreciate you way more than you know. So this is frustrating. I just literally recorded this entire episode and it didn't save. So yeah, I'm doing it again. Fun times. All right, cool. It's kind of like the little behind the scenes things that you never get to hear about or see when somebody is filming and doing their YouTube. And then it's just like, oh, great. Yeah, well, this just happened. I did this whole entire episode. Didn't save. And it was really good. So hopefully we can get this again and it is just as good. I'm really hoping. So here we go. Silly ass, right? So today what we're going to do is it's just a little bit of like meanings and words and you know, kind of just stuff like that that gives you an insight into prostitution and verbiage, really. So the word prostitution comes from Latin. It means placing in front. P-R-O, means up front. And then auture, I think, because I don't speak Latin, means placement. So technically the meaning is upfront placing. And everybody knows with prostitution what that means, right? It's an upfront deal. Like we know what it is. Upfront placing, prostitution. We've already talked about how this is the oldest profession in the world, where it started, how it started. We'll cover that a little bit here in a minute, but if you haven't seen my prior videos, please go back and watch them because it's going to give you an incredible education about everything. So we're gonna go into like some words for the word prostitution. And as I've stated before, I work 16 to 18 hours a day on top of dealing with chronic pain, which I am in right now, but life moves on. So here I am, smile in place because I'm not gonna let this shit get to me. I'm a fighter and that's just the way it is. Everybody who knows me knows what's going on. If you don't, ask me in my comments or in my email. I will respond. I always respond to everything. Don't forget. So other words for prostitute. We have a few of them and they are hooker, night walker, courtesan, femme fatale, which sounds dangerous and noir and like Parisian, like spy to me anyway. Painted lady, dirty dove, painted dove, jilt, whore, harlot, escort, and sex worker. There are other words. We have covered them previously in other episodes. You will hear many words involving the word prostitute. So we will move on. There's other words that are going to come up. I look forward to them because dang. Here are 10 historical euphemisms for the word penis. I cannot even keep a straight face for this. All right, I can't do it. All right. Belly ticker, belly tickler, brat getter, giggle stick, kicky wick. That sounds like something that should be in a rap video. Kicky wick. Oh, lather maker. Don't hate me. Oh, these aren't my sayings. Holy motherfucker. Matrimonial peacemaker. Oh my God. Shove devil. Sir Martin Wagstaff. The next dog I have, that's his name, Sir Martin Wagstaff. Hands down, the next dog I get, Sir Martin Wagstaff. Oh my God. Uncunt. We've all heard the word, well, most people, I use this word, uncunted. Now I actually understand what it means to become uncunt or uncunted. Means to have a wank. However, that's not the connotation I take when you say the word uncunted. So, all right. Oh my God. And then wang doodle. Wang doodle. There are other words. These words, these terms were used from 1888 to 1936. And to be quite honest, I really fucking wish that they were in use today because they're amazing. They're amazing words. Amazing. I love them. Wing doodle. Sir Martin Wagstaff. Who the fuck came up with these names? Good Lord. So anyway, the word whore actually is an old Indo-European word related to the old Indian word Kama Sutra, meaning lust. We will cover Kama Sutra later. Historically, levied at any woman who stepped outside the norms of modest behavior that upset the status quo. And whore originally derives from the actual Germanic word horon, which is Horon, meaning one that desires. In Old Norwegian, however, the word is hora, means adulterous woman. And in Dutch, it's called hoer, which is Hoer. It's pronounced almost the same as the English word as whore. So whore, Hoer, whore, and whore. Harlotry is actually in Dutch, I want to say it's like hora. I don't speak Dutch. So I would love it if anybody in the Dutch community could tell me the actual proper terminology. It was a general term for both paid and unpaid sex outside of marriage. So it didn't even mean that you were getting paid for sex, but if you had sex outside of marriage, you were just considered a whore. The hora took away the honor of a woman by her sexual behavior. And whores were considered to be honorless women, and the word prostitute only became generally accepted in the Netherlands in about the 19th century. So, you know, we have all these like considerations throughout history, right, that take into consideration honor and infidelity and sin. I have also given you my personal thought on this, and truthfully it comes into religion, and then that, my loves, brings us into the whore of Babylon. So the whore of Babylon is actually technically not one person. It's not. So being a whore is considered the oldest profession on earth, which we have covered in depth from the very beginning of this series in previous episodes. The Holy Bible mentions a woman called the whore of Babylon. That was like actually my first, it was a really bad episode because it was like my first, and I didn't have an editor at that point in time. So you're going to kind of have to forgive me for that because it was kind of shitty. But I'm getting better. I'll get better as time goes on. That stood for sinful behavior. It meant that the Roman Empire, according to the writers of the Bible, which were men. And by men, I don't mean the male species. I mean human beings. However, they were men. And everyone who watches me and knows me knows that I'm not a hater of men at all. I love men. I am completely equal between the sexes. I cover things in depth, especially if you watch me on my lives. You see how much I actually defend the male species because I don't think you guys get enough credit. So anyway, so actually the whore of Babylon is considered no more than a bunch of unholy people. It wasn't just like one person. It was a bunch of people who were considered unholy with their multitude of gods and their wrongful, sinful, lustful morals. Which to me is complete, utter fucking horseshit. Anyway, so the Bible then goes on further to state Sodom and Gomorrah. We all know this story. We all know this story. And that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by God, right? Because of the sinful behaviors of its citizens. Sodomy was considered to be just rampant in those two places, but it wasn't that sodomy was being conducted between a man and a woman. The reason it is considered that it was destroyed because sodomy was being between two men, homosexuality. So whores, brothels, and drunkenness formed on the basis for the decay of these two biblical places. So having sex was only destined to be between married people. Like that was it, right? Let me state right now up front, if you're homosexual, you're gay, whatever, queer, all, whatever, no judgment, okay? I am going off of historical facts. Does not mean I agree with them. I'm just stating what has been found historically, because basically here I am a amateur historian, right? But what I basically focus on are the areas that most people don't, is sex, because I am comfortable talking about sex. I'm comfortable talking about what has happened. I'm comfortable talking about how things derived between, everything. So if you ever hear me talk about like the evils of homosexuality, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm talking historically. Also, when it comes down to sex in general, I don't believe that sex is derived and meant for people who are only married. Not what I'm saying, okay? I need you to understand that everything I'm talking about is historically based. It's everything that I have found in extensive research that deals with where we are today, what has happened, the taboos, and why things are the way that they are. Hopefully one day, we all can be as comfortable as I am. I think that would be really great, to be perfectly honest. We all talk in private, right? We have these private conversations. We have sex rooms. We have sex chats. People text back and forth, considered as sexting. We have places of OnlyFans and Fansly and like all these other things that happen, right? And it's so taboo. Why? I mean, wouldn't things be a little bit more comfortable if we could sit down and just like openly discuss things? I mean, not everything is going to be your cup of tea, nor mine. But I mean, as long as we're not talking about things that are not illegal for good reason, I don't care if you like to be spanked. I don't care if you like my feet. Okay, cool. Do you, boo? Anyway, just saying. So if you have seen my previous videos, then you will see that prostitution has been around since basically the beginning of time. All right. So right now we have the prostitution of, like 3,000 years before Christ. I believe it was even further before that. And in the Bible, we have a woman called Lilith. And she is mentioned in clay tablets, y'all, before paper. Clay tablets. This is considered the Sumerian age. I cover the Sumerian age way back. Okay. Lilith is later in time considered to be a demon. Oh. She first emerged in circa 3000 BC. All right. That's when they say that she was first around. BC is before Christ, if you don't know. In the ancient city of Uruk, it's U-R-U-K. I might not be pronouncing that correctly. It is now known as the city of Iraq. She was a high priestess of the Indiana temple and was sent by the goddess to get men from the streets. All right. Lilith was one of the, Nuggigs, N-U-G-U-G-G-S, or G-I-G-G-S, gigs, Nuggigs. The pure or spotless, who were worshipped as holy women. How can you go from being a holy woman to a demon? Can you tell me? religion. Like, that's it. Full fucking upfront. That's it. Demon. Because you don't agree. Again, I ask anybody, how can you tell me what I can and can't do with my body? I don't have the right to tell you what you can do. I mean, and quite honestly, as long as you're not harming a child or animals or dead things, like, again, we go into this topic of like, who the fuck are you to tell me what I can and can't do? I'm sorry, but I don't have the right to tell you. Like, I have some serious no-goes that I personally find to be completely and totally immoral, unjust, completely deviant, and not okay. Being gay is not one of those things. If you are gay, be gay. Do you? I don't give a fuck. If you're bisexual, I don't care. Do you? If I or you or anyone you know wants to go and get a prostitute, it's none of our fucking business. So who in the world decided that Lilith became a demon when initially she was a Holy Spirit, like a holy deity designed from that religion, that she was to bring people into the temple for religious rites? Because your two religions don't agree with each other? Fuck off. Sorry, but no. And this is where we come back into the earlier discussion, which I covered. All prostitutes are deemed to start in the Sumerian age, in the temple, okay? It was a religious rite for you to go into a temple, have sex with the temple people, you know, who were all designed and appointed by the gods. You paid a tithe. That's where the prostitution comes into play, because you paid a tithe. But every religion has a tithe. And you got to have sex in the church. Okay? There were people who went into the church, into the temples, to have sex, to marry a god, to literally sacrifice their being, their body, for that god that they wanted to marry. People went into the church and had sexual favors done for their own marriage between a man and a woman. They did this for good crops, good health, good wealth, fertility. Get the fuck out of here. Like, when did this become a bad thing? I'm sorry, but it's just like, it's insane to me. So a lot of the reasons that we see prostitution become illegal, it's for some funny things. Jealousy, for one. Religion, for two. Which comes first? I think religion comes first. It teaches people to be self-conscious and have low self-esteem. And then that brings in jealousy, in my opinion. But I mean, like, those are just things that I see. And then other people look back and they're like, oh, well, you know, it's just like, there's no structure. There's, you know, like, drugs and alcohol and this and that. Listen, there's been drugs and alcohol also since the beginning of time. People have been involved in this since the beginning of time. You are always going to have addicts, and then you're going to have those people who use it in moderation. So I'm going to cover Amsterdam here in depth, right? Pretty soon, but I'm going to cover, again, notes, because I work 16 to 18 hours a day. I don't have time to memorize this shit right now. I'm hoping to later. Hang with me, please. There was a thing in Amsterdam called the Spin House. And regularly, prostitutes were brought into the so-called spin house, which was a penitentiary prison, penitentiary. I can't say the word today. It's been a long couple months, lovers. I'm gonna try it one more time. I can't even think about it right now. Penitentiary. Nope. Penitentiary. Nope. Prison. For women. It was convicted women, criminals, beggars, and what? Prostitutes. Since when do beggars turn into criminals? Like, we don't like the criminals that we see, or the criminals, the beggars that we see on the street today because it's so prevalent. But are they criminals? I don't know, right? That just seems a little harsh to me. Anyway, so they were punished and they were sat in this large room where everybody who, this is fucked up. So everybody who came into the room had to pay a nickel so they could watch like it was a zoo. And the women were forced to sit, and they were forced to knit and sew for the public. And like crochet shit. Cool. They had 4 male regions and 2 female regions. All right. And on the background, there's this painting, and it shows like the 4 and the 2, and in the background there is why do I feel like my top is coming off? That feels weird. That would be a show, right? You know I don't do that shit. You know. Okay. Are we good? Yeah, we're fine. Felt like my top was coming off. And so in this painting that is literally called regents, you know, I hope you know what that means. But so there's the like parliament guys, there's 4 of them, and there's 2 females, and then in the background it shows women, and they're all knitting and sewing. And then like 2 women are being beaten with a shoe as punishment for not doing it like what they want them to do. So I'm going to pass up some things because I cover a lot later. And this is pretty funny. Not funny, but like it's comical. So in Amsterdam, there was a point in time where the violation of the new city rule was punishment with a shutdown by the fornication police. So brothels openly advertising on the street and in newspapers in a provocative way didn't do much good for the business of prostitution, and authorities reacted by making things way more difficult for them. And new laws were introduced and repression became way firmer. And the brothel Mason Wenthel was shut down by Amsterdam authorities on June 20th, 1902. Now, local brothel keepers went into appeal with the courts, putting forward that the local city laws were in contradiction with national laws. And eventually, the Supreme Court in the Netherlands held that the Amsterdam city law did not contravene any higher body of law, and appeals were then dismissed. Project 1012 came into place in 2007, and the city of Amsterdam adopted the policy, and it's a zip code of the red light district. just might want to keep that in mind for future adventures in the future. I'm just saying. And it encompassed people to buy property in the red light district. So that way that they can install regular shops like game cafes, fashion shops, chocolate shops, galleries, coffee shops, those types of things. And the policy has been very, very successful. And because of this policy, a number of the brothel windows has decreased in numbers like crazy, right? And because of the policy, sex workers in those spaces on I think April 9th of 2007 went into a big protest in Amsterdam where sex workers actually protested against the closing of brothels, stating that "don't save us, save our windows." Quote. Sex workers in the 70s and 80s in the red light district admitted that, yeah, it was like all about sex and drugs and all of that. But since then, there has been a cleanup purposely. And at present, like today, Amsterdam, the Amsterdam red light district is a fine place to be and hang out. There is so much to see. Let's see. So nowadays, it's more than just a window of brothels and cannabis coffee shops. So I've had some friends go to Amsterdam and to the red light district, which I really hope to do for this show at some point in time. But they stated that there are certain things to be really careful about. And some of those have to deal with like, listen, okay? Like you don't go through the red light district and you just take pictures of the girls. Oh, sorry, pain. You don't go and just take pictures of girls who are standing in the doorways, okay? You have the possibility of having feces and urine thrown at you. And they basically state that it's because they're not circus animals. And they don't want people to take advantage. But like, throwing urine and feces to me is like being in prison. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Why are you doing that? Not cool. Other people have stated that they have had just a really wonderful time, right? I've also had other people tell me that it's like, I don't know, being in Seattle right now, where there are like needles all over the ground and shit on the ground and watching people take a pee or passing out in areas, not all areas, but you know, like there's just some really uncool things. And to me, that is just terrifying and dirty and not fun. But I've also had people tell me the complete opposite, that they had a really wonderful time and it was a lot of fun. And, you know, like, I don't know. So anyway, let's see. There's another place that is called Our Lord in the Attic. And in Dutch, okay, I don't speak Dutch. Forgive me if I butcher this. Onze lieve Heer op zolder, which is Our Lord in the Attic, I think. Forgive me if I butchered it. It is a pretty fantastic 17th century house where Catholics secretly held their worshiping ceremonies in a time of Calvinism, which became the main religion in Holland from 1585. It's a 5-story house complete with a church on the 5th floor, on the highest floor, 5th floor. And it is exactly the same today as it was back then. And the rest of the house shows how people lived in the 17th century for all of that kind of stuff. So like, there's a lot of stuff. Again, like I have to go through some of my notes because I just don't have time to memorize all this stuff. But we'll be going through other names for prostitutes and sex in general as we go through the entirety of this series, and other words that have just been used throughout history. But if you have a word for a particular body part, I would love to hear it in the comments. So please leave them, because some of these are just too comical and I love them. And quite honestly, I wish some of them were still used today, because what? Come on. I love it. It's awesome. It's awesome. They're so funny. I'm sorry, I still can't get over the Sir Wagstaff. I'm totally naming my next dog that. I am. I swear to God. If I get a dog while I still have this YouTube, believe me, his name will be that. Oh my goodness. But this was just like a nice little excerpt. Words must be hard for me today. Of things, and a little bit of extra information and all that good stuff. Goodness. So anyway, the last video I did was much better, but it didn't save. So here we are. Don't you love technology? Oh my goodness. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Just a little bit extra fun. I really hope you do me the favor and subscribe, because I need you, and without you I can't be here. So also, coming to the very end of my YouTube wardrobe, this will be in my next episode, because I'm really digging this right now. Yes. And if you have any ideas of what I should wear on the next episodes coming up, I would love to hear about it. If you also want to help me, there's my wish list. If you would like it, message me, I'll give it to you. You can send things to my P.O. box. Much appreciated, because I don't get paid for this. This is on my own time. And I really enjoy being here. So help a sister out. I hope you have a good day. I hope you enjoy whatever it is you're doing. I hope you enjoy whatever it is you're doing. And we'll see you next time. So I love you. I appreciate you. And until the next episode, be good and enjoy it, baby.